Was it a mistake to sign this law?
Absolutely not.
Welcome back to Harbor. That was, of course, Indiana Governor Mike Pence doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down on his decision to sign a new religious freedom law last week. And yesterday, in an interview with ABC's George Stephanopoulos, Pence repeatedly refused to answer whether or not the law discriminates against gay people. Instead, he blamed the media for what he called misinformation about the law. Here it goes.
So this is a yes or no question. Is Advance America right when they say a florist in Indiana can now refuse to serve a gay couple without fear of punishment?
This is not about discrimination. This is about empowering people to confront government overreach, George.
On it, because your supporters say it would. And so yes or no, if a florist in Indiana refuses to serve a gay couple at their wedding, is that legal now in Indiana?
George, this is where this debate has gone with misinformation and frankly,
it's just a question, sir. Yes or no?
Well, there's been shameless rhetoric about my state and about this law and about its intention all over the internet.
That was one of your supporters who was talking about the bill right there. It said it would protect a Christian florist who against any kind of punishment. Is that true or not?
George, look, the issue here is, is tolerance a two-way street or not?
Yes or no, should it be legal to discriminate against gays and lesbians?
George, you're following the mantra of the last week online, and you're trying to make this issue about something else.
Yeah, George Stephanopoulos was like an iguana on the guy's leg there. He wouldn't let go of him, and he shouldn't have. Since Pence, the governor, signed the law, he's faced a fierce backlash from the business community of Indiana. Among the many businesses who are opposing Pence on this is Apple CEO Tim Cook, who voiced his opposition in a Washington Post op-ed calling the law dangerous. Angie's List announced over the weekend that it was pulling out of a deal with the state of Indiana to expand its headquarters there. This is big stuff. And bigger yet, the NCAA, which is headquartered in Indianapolis and also where the Final Four championship is being held this week, released a statement opposing the new law, saying, "We are especially concerned about how this legislation could affect our student athletes and employees. We will work diligently to ensure student athletes competing in and visitors attending next week's men's Final Four in Indianapolis are not impacted negatively by this bill." Joshua Driver is founder of openforservice.org, a campaign to celebrate businesses that oppose discrimination. And Russell Moore is the president of the Southern Baptist Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission. Let's see if we have a disagreement here. Joshua, what do you think this bill portends? What is it going to do to gay couples, for example, trying to check into a motel, trying to buy gas at a gas station, trying to plan a wedding? What influence will it have in real terms on real people's lives?
Well, hopefully nothing. I think it's less about what the bill says, it's more about what the bill means. And I'm very concerned about the ramifications, and my goal is to focus on the majority of businesses that will not discriminate people as they walk through the front door.
Well, what are those ramifications? Nail them.
People getting turned away, not from anything, and it's more than just the LGBT community. People could use religion as a potential explanation for anybody, and I don't think people should ever be turned away. As an entrepreneur myself, I would never decline revenue from somebody just because we are different.
We have a policy in this country, Russell, of public accommodations being respectful of people regardless of whatever orientation, sexual identity is not covered by that. But what do you think should be the case? Should a person who opens a shop for business, whether it's a wedding planner or it's a gas station or it's a motel, hotel, whatever it is, restaurant, should they have the right to say, you guys seem gay to me, you're not getting in here? Should that be all right?
Well, I don't think anyone is calling for that kind of discrimination, and this law doesn't address that at all. This law simply says that
wait a minute. The governor had all day yesterday to say that, and he didn't. George Stephanopoulos kept asking him.
That's because the law is not making anything legal or illegal. It's simply saying what is allowed to come into court. Does the government need to prove that it has a compelling interest when it paves over someone's religious liberty issues? That's what the law is all about.
What religious issues would you have that would go into court that would justify discrimination of this kind?
Well, there are all sorts of issues that are going to come into play in the public square when it comes into someone using his or her creative gifts or gifts of expression. I don't want the government to force a Jewish musician to have to sing Stand Up for Jesus at my revival meeting just because she's in the public marketplace. And so we have to have a balancing act when it comes to respecting conscience and respecting religious convictions, along with other issues of the common good. And this bill is not the sort of radical move that some people are acting like. This bill.
Why were all those people surrounding the governor, and why was the governor doing that signing ceremony in private? What is the purpose of this, really? You say some Jewish fellow that doesn't want to sing, Ave Maria, if there is such a guy. I think everybody wants to sing Ave Maria, by the way. But it's a beautiful song. But my question is, are these the most esoteric? You passed a state law with the most esoteric purpose. You're saying it doesn't have a broad implication to people. It couldn't be used by, can it be used? Let me ask you cases. Suppose a hotel doesn't want to serve gay couples.
Again,
for religious reasons.
This bill does not make anything legal or illegal that wasn't legal or illegal before the law was passed.
But it would be a challenge in court, you say?
Not necessarily, no. This does not mean that someone has a golden ticket to get out of the dispute. It simply means that the government has to prove why there's a compelling interest. And
okay, how about a compelling? Look,
cases,
the United States people, the people of this country have long ago decided back in the 60s that we have a compelling interest, and a store opens its door, it's open to everybody. Do you accept that? Open to everybody. A door opens, you have to let people in. You can't say, oh, you're black or you're gay. You can't do that. Do you accept that right?
In most cases,
when don't you accept it?
Well, when you would, for instance, have someone who's using his or her creative gifts or expressive gifts for a viewpoint that person by conscience can't agree with. And that would go in every direction, not just for people who agree with me on those issues.
Okay, let me go back. I think this is absurd, Joshua. I don't know anybody that would go to some Jewish guy and say, would you sing at my Catholic wedding? You'd pick somebody who wanted to do it because otherwise they'd do a lousy job. I mean, this is just common marketplace sense. You wouldn't ask somebody to do a gay wedding who's anti-gay. You might, but it would seem to be a stupid thing to do. You would want a wedding planner that would give you the best wedding you ever had, who wanted to.
Yeah, I would agree. My goal is for every business that says no, I want to be able to provide 10 to 25 that'll say yes. And I think people want to know where they should take their business and hopefully avoid the awkward situation of being turned away.
What do you make, Russell, of the idea of the NCAA, which is, a lot of basketball players, white and black, the most talented college basketball players in the country, don't want to go to Indiana now. They're talking about this.
I think it's really unfortunate. I think it's a confluence of sexual libertarianism and crony capitalism in a way that is trying to bully the state of Indiana into backing down from protecting basic religious liberties the same way the federal government does and the same way 19 other states do. I think that's really unfortunate.
What's sexual libertarianism? What is sexual libertarianism?
Well, the idea that sexual freedom trumps everything else, and that it ought to be able to pave over the consciences of anyone else. That's what we're seeing all over the country right now. That's the reason why we have these numerous disputes and debates in which religious liberty, that once was an issue we could all pretty much agree on in American life, has become a culture war issue in ways that I think are going to be damaging for everyone.
Okay, a hotel's owned by a Baptist fellow, a fundamental person, a fundamentalist believer in opposition, only supports traditional marriage. Should that person be able to keep a gay couple from staying in his lodgings? Yes or no? Well, under your thinking, should he have a case in court that he can do that?
I don't think that anyone who has a hotel or a lodge should spend time wondering about what anyone is doing in that. But that's not where most of our disputes are happening. That's not where most of our disputes are.
It's not about the Jewish guy that won't sing at the Catholic wedding.
But it is. But it is. We have religious minorities all over this country that are being discriminated against. Questions of Muslim employees who are being told that they can't wear a hijab because hats aren't allowed. And we have to have a way in order to say this is a matter of religious expression and religious conscience.
I think you gave away your argument with that sexual libertarianism. Anyway, thank you, Josh Driver, and thank you, Russell Moore, for joining us in this very interesting debate.